Guys, I'm going to tee one up for you. What special event is coming up this week, men? Thanksgiving. No, not Thanksgiving. Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is on Wednesday. And it's where we get to say, I love you to that special someone. Now, one of those ways that we say I love you is with what? What do we give our sweetheart sometimes on Valentine's Day? What's one of the most popular gifts? Diamonds. No, who is? Grant, whoever's going to marry you, you're going to give him diamonds every year? There's going to be a line at your door, brother. Flowers, right? Roses. Roses are a big deal. And you know what? Roses are a nice thing. But if you really want to go the extra mile this year, I've got an opportunity for each and every guy here. Okay? I'll have an opportunity later on for the ladies too. But I got an opportunity for each and every guy here. If you really want to impress that special someone, you can contact the world-famous rose growers and distributors called Jackson and Perkins. Okay, they have a new program. Well, not a new one. It's been around for a couple years. They have a program where, for a fee, you can name a new type of rose after your sweetheart. Yeah. It's $75,000. But you get a trip for two out to L.A., you get 300 of those roses with your sweetie's name attached to it, and you even get a really nice certificate that says that rose is called after your sweetie. So it's pretty awesome, right? How many of you guys are really pumped about doing something like that, right? No. Okay. Well, there are a lot of ways to say that I love you. And what we really want to do is we want to ask this question. How far are you willing to go to demonstrate your love for someone? Now, I want to be careful. This is not just, so I know some of you are like, especially teenagers thinking, well, I'm not married, so this doesn't apply to me. We're not talking about just romantic love today. We're going to be talking about loving people, okay? We're going to be looking at some of the ways that we can model the love that God has shown to us, because God has shown us the perfect love, okay? Now, most of you are familiar with the 5 love languages, yes? How many of you have heard of the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman? Okay, actually, on the back of your sermon notes today, I have a little chart. Okay, I took that from Gary's website. We're going to kind of look at this because I've entitled this Loving Out Loud. Okay? And, God's vocal range when it comes to love encompasses all 5 of these. And some of you are going to say, as we go through these, yeah, that's the way I process love the best. And, we're going to talk about them. Somebody may be a words of affirmation person, where words make a big deal. Some of them are acts of service, where, you can say it all you want, but unless you show it, it really doesn't mean anything. Some of you are gifts-oriented, where somebody gives you a gift that's well thought out and meaningful. So we're gonna look at this because God has spoken to us in each one of these, and He's modeled it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a brief moment and look at how we can model that to not just our spouse, but to each other. Okay? So you can follow along in your notes here. The first one is love spoken, and that's words of affirmation. Love spoken. These are kind, gentle, encouraging words that speak life into someone. Okay? Proverbs 25:11 says, a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in pictures of silver. Okay? Now that word fitly, I've got a little definition up here, means it's the right word at the right time in the right way. That's the key. Okay? You'll always, and we'll talk about this in a second, you hear people say, well, I just speak the truth. I speak whatever comes into my head. That could be dangerous, okay, if you end it there, right? Is it good to speak truth? Yes. Okay. Is it good to always speak everything that comes into your mind? Okay, not good. But we'll talk about that. Because words can be a little tricky. Even this, fitly spoken, that word fitly literally comes from a word that means a wheel that fits perfectly and rotates. So it just means, and the word picture there is the right word at the right time in the right way. Okay? Now, the apples of gold and settings of silver describe something that's both exceptionally beautiful and extremely valuable. So words spoken in the right way can be very, very valuable. okay? Especially if the people that you're dealing with, whether it's a son, a daughter, a husband, a wife, a friend, a neighbor, whatever the case may be, especially if that's how their love tank gets filled. Okay, Gary Chapman talks about everybody's got a love tank, okay? And it gets filled in a certain way. It takes a certain kind of octane to fill the certain person's tank, okay? We like all five. All of us like all five, but some of them just kind of hit us a little bit more. And you might be this person. You might be a words person, but words can be tricky, can't they? How many of you have ever said something meaning it one way, but it was taken a completely and totally different way? Anybody? I hate when that happens. I got an example up here. So ready? Can somebody read that nice and loud? Who wants to read that for me, nice and loud? Nobody. Okay, go ahead. Okay, you know something? I hate sentences like this, but it's true that it was wound. I'm gonna talk like Elmer Fudd in a second. The bandage was wound around the wound. Words can be tricky, okay? I got another one here for you. Who would do this one? Somebody want to do this one? Dad. Right, and it's a legitimate sentence, although it will pop up on your spell check as not right because it's two words bound. But it's, one word is produce and one word is produce. Hate words like this. Here's another one. Look at this one, ready? Then, when shot at, the dove dove into the bushes. Here's my favorite one. I got one more here. Since there is no time like the present, he thought it was time to present the present. I didn't come up with these, okay? But words can be a little tricky, and we do need to be wise in how we use them, and God kind of demonstrated that to us. Hebrews chapter 1, verse 1 says this: long ago, God spoke to the fathers by the prophets at different times in different ways. Okay, so we know that God spoke to prophets through visions and actual audible voice and a number of different ways. Spoke to Gideon with a fleece. Spoke to Moses through a burning bush with his own voice. Spoke in so many different, spoke to kings and prophets and farmers in so many different ways. And him being the master communicator, he's used his words to create, to heal, to admonish at times, to warn and rebuke, to renew, but to communicate his love to us. Okay, we can never say, God never said, I love you. Because he has over and over again. Jeremiah experienced it firsthand. In Jeremiah 31:3, it says, the Lord hath appeared of old unto me, saying, yea, I have loved thee. Now this is the word of God coming right out, the audible voice of God. Yea, I have loved thee with an everlasting love. Therefore with loving kindness have I drawn thee. Imagine hearing those words from the mouth of God. Jeremiah did. Jeremiah needed it at the time. Jeremiah was in desperate need to hear God's voice, and to hear that God loved him, because he was in a situation that was, people just weren't listening. He was being persecuted. He was weeping. He's known as the weeping prophet. He was weeping for the nation of Israel because they kept spiraling downhill, out of control, away from God. And God spoke to him with these words. God didn't say, don't worry, Jeremiah, I'm going to use you to fix everybody. He said, no, I love you, Jeremiah. He filled Jeremiah's tank. And we can demonstrate our love for each other by speaking these kind and encouraging words. I remember I mentioned this. Ephesians 4:15. Speak the truth. We said that was good, but you got to do it in love. Has anybody ever said something to you that was true, but it didn't feel very good? As a matter of fact, even though it was true and maybe could have helped you if presented in a different way, it could quite possibly have turned you the other way. Okay? Now, am I saying that we need to sugarcoat everything? Absolutely not. What I am saying is we need to be wise. Because see, if I'm going to love you, whether it's an encouragement or a rebuke, the words need to be coming from a position of love. Okay? I can rebuke or I can discipline my children, but if it's coming from a position of love, it's going to produce something very, very good. Okay? I can also say the truth without love and use my words as a weapon. So I get to choose that. I get to decide because, words have power. Proverbs 18:21 says this, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. So speaking life into people or destruction. We can encourage or discourage. We can invest or insult. We can build up or tear down. Again, I'm not saying that we should never, ever say a rebuke or discipline or correction. Absolutely not. What I'm saying is it's got to come from a position of love. And we've got to be wise in the words that we choose. We could be known as people that build up or people that tear down. And to love out loud like God, we need to use those words wisely. Ephesians 4:32 says this, be kind to one another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake has forgiven you. So you get to decide, do you want to be known as a speaker of life or speaker of death? Do you want to be known as somebody that makes people better or makes them worse? We get to choose. Okay? We have God as our example, and we get to choose. We get to choose to speak love. Now, what if I speak the truth, it's coming from a good heart, but can I mess it up in the way that I say it? Absolutely. I can say it harsh. I can say it biting. I can say it with an edge to it. Or I can say it like it's meant to be in order to help somebody. So the way we say things, what we say, the tone, even the mannerisms. I remember one time, this was at the beginning of our marriage, I think we were playing volleyball or something. Angela and I were playing volleyball. And, I turned to her really quick to say something, and I didn't even get the words out. And she was like, she backed up. I said, well, what's your problem? She said, I thought you were going to bite me. I don't know. Even our mannerisms can say a lot. Okay? So love spoken, words of affirmation. Here's another one. Love invested. This is quality time. Quality time. This is sharing our most valuable, your most valuable resource, and my most valuable resource is not in the bank. It's time, because we have a definite, limited amount of it here on this planet, in this body, at this time. Okay? And, God is the creator of time and has a plan and a purpose for every single moment. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says this, to everything there is a season, a time to every purpose under the heaven. So God literally knows every single thing that's going to happen. He's got a slot for it. He's on the throne. He's in control. He knows every second of every person's life, of every animal's life, of every star and planet's life. He knows he's got everything. He's known as a God of order, not a God of disorder. Okay? And we are to use it judiciously. Okay, so when you give someone your time, you're giving someone something of your most valuable resource. Okay? And God demonstrated that to us in John 1:14. It says, the Word was made flesh, the Word is God, Christ, and dwelt among us. And we beheld his glory as of the glory of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Let me ask you this. Could God have sent an angel to talk to us? Of course. He could have even sent the archangel, which is, what's his name? Michael, right? He could have even sent the top angel to say, hey, you're all a bunch of rotten people. You're going to die and go to hell. And we got to do something about it. He could have done that. He could have sent he could have sent Michael and Gabriel. They could have tag teamed on us. But instead, he came himself. And not only did he come, could God have, how about this? Could God have, on Passion Week, just kind of popped up in a physical form and gone to the cross for us? Of course he could have. He could have done that if he wanted to, but he didn't. He came. He was born. He spent time with Joseph, with Mary, with the people in the town. He spent 3.5 years with the disciples, preparing them, living with them, investing his life into them. Some people process love this way. Some people process love. You ever know somebody, maybe you are, where you can sit with them and you really don't even have to talk. Sometimes that's enough, right? Sometimes that's enough. And that's what's being said here with this time, this love invested. And we can do that. We need to do that because according to Genesis 2:18, it says, the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make a helper for him. So think about this. God puts Adam in the garden, okay? And God is accessible, freely accessible at this time. It's before the fall, before the curse. Freely accessible. And then God, he puts the animals and Adam, then he puts Adam in there, and he steps back, and he said something. It was the first time he said it. What did he say that changed everything for Adam? He saw that Adam was alone, and it was not good. That man should be alone, right? It was not good. Okay, so what does he do? He says, guess what? I'm going to make a human being, another human being, to be with you and to spend time with you. Okay? And that's the beauty of what's... And God wants us to do the same thing. He wants us to be able to do that. We live in a world that is increasingly isolated. And, how many of you have ever texted something to someone on your phone? Okay. How many of you have ever, I know the kids don't do this too much anymore, how many of you have ever Facebooked someone? How about FaceTime someone? I never did that, but all the young, yeah, we do FaceTime all the time. Okay. How about email? How many of you ever emailed someone? How about snail mail? You sent a letter, right? Those things are nice, but this is what ends up happening if that's all we rely on. We end up isolated by ourselves, and that's... we're not meant to be that way. The early church was feeling like this. They came to know the Lord. They were ostracized in the society. They were isolated. Okay, and then we see in Acts 2:46 it says, and they continued daily with one accord in the temple, and breaking bread from house to house, to eat their meat with gladness and singleness of heart. These people were ridiculed, persecuted, ostracized from society. They needed each other. I hear, when I go to a pastor's conference, I hear, hey, we need to recreate the first century church. We can't recreate the first century church, okay? We would need to be in a position where society completely wants nothing to do with us. We can't even get jobs. Our kids can't go to their schools. Then we begin to say, oh, yeah, I guess we do need each other. Because see, right now, we're going to leave here today. We're going to walk out these doors, and we all got places to go and things to do and people to see and stuff. They didn't have that. Honestly, I don't want to create everything about the first century church. I just want the good stuff. I'm going to be honest with you. I just want the good stuff. But there was such a horror show going on that they had no choice but to draw close to each other. And it was that closeness where they drew love from each other and encouraged each other. And that's kind of the gist of this. It's sharing lives with each other. So if whether it's your sweetie, whether it's your husband, your wife, your kids, remember the song, how many of you, some of you are going to remember this, Cats in the Cradle. I always forget who, that wasn't Jim Croce. Who sang that? Who is it? Okay. One of the most well-known songs back in the day, but if you really listen to that song, it's one of the saddest songs out there, right? For you young people that aren't blessed with the good music from the past, it was about a dad and a son, and the dad was always away, and the son wanted to spend. He said, "Dad, can you just spend?" And he said, basically the bottom line, "No, I can't with you, but I'll get with you another time." Then the son grew up, and this went over and on. Then the son grew up, okay, and the dad now is old and retired, and he's saying, "Son, can you spend some time with me?" And he used the same words, like, "Dad, I would like to, but I really can't. I'm too busy. Maybe next time." But that is really kind of the heart of people. We need each other. You know what the outside of like the electric chair? You know what the sternest punishment is in the jail? Solitary confinement. It's great for the first couple of hours, I'm sure. I get a rest. Lori came in today. She had 30 seconds by herself. She said, 30 seconds was good. But turn that into 30 days, 30 weeks, 30 months, 30 years, and it's not good anymore. Just that isolate, that by yourself. We all like to get away for a little bit and go, right? How many of you like to get away once in a while and just take a breath, right? It's great. But stretch that out over the long haul, Not good. Time is a precious commodity. Our third one, love given. Love given. This is thoughtful gifts. This is also an investment, but it's a more material one. And sometimes it gets a bad rap. This one gets a bad rap sometimes because a lot of people will associate it with, oh, your love language is gifts, you're materialistic. It's really nothing about being materialistic. It's a well thought out, meaningful gift. It doesn't have to cost any money. It could not. It's just going to be well thought out and given with the good heart. God actually, if you're a gifts person and somebody gives you a hard time about it, give them this verse. John 3:16. Okay? For God so loved the world that he did what? He gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. All you gift people out there, guess what? God demonstrated his love in the most powerful way with a gift. It's the gift of himself, of course. And I know it entails everything, all the ones that we've talked about so far, but think about that. Now, if you're the person, I want more, me, well, then you are materialistic. But if somebody gives you a well thought out gift, I know some people that can throw away anything in their house, but if somebody gave them a gift of any kind, it goes nowhere. It stays. I've got this little card from this little girl. I knew the Lord for maybe a year, and I was working with the youth. And this little girl drew this little picture on a piece of paper and gave it to me. I still got it. Okay, I'm not a gift person, but it meant so much. It was so thought out. And that's kind of what this is. And we can demonstrate our love for each other. We have a great picture of it, not only here, but with Jesus as a young boy. You remember the wise men. When the wise men came to the house, they saw the young child with Mary, his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And then they opened up their treasures and presented unto him what? Gifts. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Probably the wisest guys of the day traveled hundreds, maybe thousands of miles just to give a material gift to the King of all kings. Well thought out. Was that well thought out? Was that meaningful? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, sometimes it's tough to come up with the perfect gift, isn't it? So I told you ladies that I would help you out. Guys, you want to help out your sweetie? Name a rose after her. $75,000. Okay? Ladies, I got something for you too. That's also a thing of roses, but it's made out of beef jerky. Okay? That's roses made out of beef jerky. And they actually sell these. Okay, yeah, the guys are like, now we're talking. Here's the problem. $75,000 for the other one, you get this for about $5. But that's okay. The price doesn't matter. It's the meaning behind it. Okay? The guys how many guys are mouth watering right now? It's the brainchild of a company called Say It With Beef. Okay? It's called, now a bundle of flowers is called a what? A bouquet. This is called a brocade. And they say, this is their tagline. It says, you're a dude, and I have no idea what to buy you. Have some beef. Okay? Sometimes the perfect gift is tough, but girls, ladies, this might work for some of your men. Okay? Here's the bottom line. The bottom line is, by giving a well thought out, meaningful gift, you're telling the person that they're worth the effort. You run through the store like, okay, that's good, and that's not going to do anything. That's not the kind of gift that they need. People need, whether it's your sweetie, whether it's your neighbor. You ever give flowers to a neighbor? You ever give a gift to a distant relative? Sometimes people hear better with a gift that's meaningful. And for most of us guys, this one's got a lot of meaning, okay? And there's our fourth one. Our fourth one is love engaged. This is the acts of service. This is the roll up your sleeves kind of love. This is the kind of love that says, you can say what you want, gifts are nice, but, time, yeah, that's important. But what I really need is, as you really want to show me love, show it with your actions, acts of service, okay? And James 2 says this, If a brother or sister is without clothes or lacks daily food, and one of you says to him, go in peace, keep warm and eat well. So here's the situation. This is in the context of faith, okay, but it really paints a good picture of words and action, okay? Hey, you're sick, you're homeless, you don't get clothes. Hey, I hope you get better and get some clothes and a house. All right, God bless you, see you later. When it was within your power to actually do something. I remember walking down the streets of Boston one time, and I had a sandwich in my hand, and I'm ready to take a bite, and guess what I saw? Homeless person on the side of the road with nothing. And I was like, okay, here you go. But to walk away with that would have been just like what this guy's doing. Okay? And it says, go in peace, keep warm, and eat well, but you don't give them what the body needs. What good is it? What good is it? Words are good if they're backed up by something. Okay? God followed up his words, his time, and his gifts with action. Imagine if he left this one out. Think about this. Imagine if God left so God has spoken with words, he's spoken with speech, he's spoken with everything that we've talked about so far. Time. But imagine if he left this one out. None of us would have access to heaven. If God did not actually go to the cross and actually do what he did, we would still be on our way to hell. Okay? So he's saying you have an opportunity to do this. I'm sure that you've heard this before, because I shared it years and years ago. Not that one. Let me see if I still have it. Oh, there it is, right there. Let me give you the Philippians verse, though, first. I think I put these in the opposite order up there, but it says, God made himself of no reputation, took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. And being found fashioned as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient to death, even the death of the cross. So he followed up all of his words, his time, his gift, with this action, this actually doing what he was supposed to do, which was dying for the sins of the world. Okay? You guys have heard this before. Everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. Ready? I'm gonna read it to you because it's pretty significant. Ready? There was an important job that needed to be done, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Here's how it closes down. Everybody thought that anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could do. It's got a little tongue tie there, but you got the point. This is, unless we actually do, sometimes all the words in the world mean nothing. Unless we actually back up our words with something, it doesn't do much. If I say to, if one of you comes up to me, let's say we go outside in the parking lot and I'm usually the last one out and you happen to be out in the parking lot and your car is broken down. Let me pick Bob Barrel, okay? Bob, how ironic is that? Bob, your car breaks down, okay? And I come outside and like a good guy, I've listened to Bob. Bob's told me before, make sure you got jumper cables in the car. You don't need them if you buy a car from Barrel Automotive, but you might need them for somebody else, okay? So I come outside, I see Bob, his hood is up, car's not running, needs a jump. I got jumper cables in the back of my car. I walk over, I look at his engine. Well, what do you think, Bob? I think I just need a jump. Oh, well, good luck with that. God bless you, Bob. I love you. You're a great friend. You ever need any help, give me a call. And I walk away. What did I just do to Bob? Just slapped him in the face. I just said, I don't love you. I don't care about you. But if I stop and say, hey, man, I got jumpers. Let me get them out and put them on. We jump the car and he's good to go. That's action. All the words, I could tell Bob all the words. Well, Bob, you're a great guy. I love you, man. You're good. Did this, that, and the other thing, as I'm walking to my car to get home to eat my lunch. Actions speak louder than words many times. Okay, we can demonstrate that. Galatians 5:13 says this: "For you were called to be free, brothers. Only don't use this freedom as an opportunity for the flesh, but serve one another through love." This is in the context of putting other people first as well. Yeah, we're set free by the law, by Jesus, but we need to use the freedom that we've been given to serve each other. Whether it's your spouse, your parents, your kids, your neighbors, whatever. The person sitting on the side of you right now, the acts of service speak loud. Our last one is love secured. And this is meaningful physical touch. This is a comforting act of love that makes one feel secure. Remember when your children were born? There's something that we used to do with the blanket. What was that called? Swaddling. Why did we do that? It made them feel secure, right? How many of you held your children when they were babies? Oh, so you didn't just have a baby and say, hey, kid, tough world, toughen up, you're on your own, and walk away. Okay, that would be kind of, abusive and not good, neglectful. But you held them, How many of you ever wiped a tear from a child's eye? Huh? Did you need to wipe the tear from that, or could they have done it themselves? They could have done it themselves. Hey, kid, here's a tissue. Wipe your eye. Stop crying, you big baby. No, that's not, You know what I'm saying? Meaningful touch means a lot. And God's demonstrated that as well. In Matthew chapter 8, he says here, when he was come down from the mountain, great multitudes followed him. And behold, there was a leper. Now, leprosy back then was a huge deal. If we had leprosy back then like we do today, like we did back then, it would be a big deal. Back then, it was really a huge deal. There came a leper and worshipped him, saying, Lord, if thou wilt, thou can make me clean. Could Jesus have gone like this and made him clean? Could Jesus have gone like this? You're clean, right? Could Jesus have picked up some dirt, thrown it at him, and made him clean? Yes? Absolutely. But that's not what he did. It says, and Jesus put forth his hand and touched him, saying, I will, be thou clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. Now, according to Leviticus 13:44 through 46, if you had leprosy, you had to separate yourself from every other human being on the planet. If somebody touched you, they became unclean. If you touched somebody, they became unclean. You were supposed to be away. The only other people you could interact with were other lepers. Okay? And I want you to picture this man's life, because according to this law, he couldn't have any contact. Maybe he had kids. What if he had kids and then contracted leprosy? Imagine never being able to pick up your little baby when they were babies and hold them. Imagine never being able to wipe the tears from their eyes. Imagine never being able to hold your little girl or your little boy's hand walking down the street. Imagine if you were never able to go and they fell and hurt themselves and go and scoop them up and take care. Imagine if all you could do was from the outside, far away, was watch. Imagine the plight that this man was in. Quite possibly had not had human touch or interaction for weeks, months, maybe years, maybe decades. We're not given a specific time, okay? And yet, Jesus provided the touch that he had not had and went the extra mile and made it so that he could now receive touch and touch from that point on. Incredible. And we can demonstrate that for each other through connecting. A handshake, a hug, a hand on the shoulder, meaningful touches. Of course, we've got to be careful to use touch in the appropriate way with the appropriate people. I think you all understand that, obviously. Okay? But done properly, it can comfort and secure a heart that is hurting. Your child or your neighbor or your spouse or somebody is hurting, and you come over and you wrap an arm around them. Sometimes that is enough to let them know that you love them. So here's the bottom line. We need to love out loud so the world can hear us. Okay, we all have this love tank that I told you about. Okay, and so how many of you would say that one of those in particular really kind of speaks to you? How many of you would say, and I know they all make a difference, but how many of you would say, words do mean a lot to me? How many of you would say, you're probably a words person? Okay. How about An acts of service person, right? A gift person, and now that I've told you that's the greatest thing, you could, right? Time. How many of you, just somebody spending some time with you, right? How many of you actually like all five, though? To a degree. I'm not a touchy guy, so if you come up to me and you hug me every time you see me, I'm going to try to avoid you, I guess, okay? But, there are times in the right situation and, yeah, of course. So here's what usually happens, though. People will say, hey, so-and-so is a gift person. I just gave him a gift last week. I'll give him a gift this week. And then I've done my job. What do you think God really wants us to do with each other? Anybody have a suggestion? Help me out here because my notes are done. Anybody have a suggestion? Come on. What? How about, okay, so I got a guitar here. I love you too much to do that to you. Okay? I was going to ask Carl to come up, but you already heard him play the guitar. He's pretty talented. Okay? I got a guitar here with one string. Yeah. Am I supposed to put my fingers up here? Yeah. Oh, that sounds better. I feel like one of those guys that used to travel around. Is this doing anything for any of you guys? Is this making you feel warm and cozy? You got it. All right. That's annoying, isn't it? What if I did this for the next 5 hours? We're going to lock the doors. Mike's like, you're not going to be able to lock them. I'm going to knock you out. What if, wait, I'll change it. Next 5 hours, this is all I do. I'm in trouble, right? You think God, big trouble. Dwayne's like, please stop. No, all the musicians you're dying. God did not give us 5 ways of speaking love so that we only speak one. And just like an instrument, if we're not utilizing it, if we're not sharing our love for it, I don't care if your spouse or your child is predominantly one way or not. Angela's predominantly an acts of service person. When I do stuff, it shows that. But she also likes when I'm tender with my words. She likes when I get a well thought out gift. She loves it a lot when I spend time with her. So it's not just that one thing. And this is what happens. Typically, we speak that one dialect ourselves. Okay, if we're a words person, we do words, and we think that I tell her that I love her all the time. What isn't enough? Isn't it enough that I tell her? Isn't it enough that I give her a gift every week, if you're a gift person? Isn't it enough if I spent time with her last night and today, and it's not enough. God didn't give us an instrument with one string. Our heart has a lot of vocal range. And we need to speak this not just to our spouse, not just to our kids, not just to our parents, but to each other. Let's pray.